With control of Congress still up for grabs this morning, the stakes are sky high in these midterm elections.
Yeah, but how does 2022 stack up historically?
Well, no one better to talk to than NBC News presidential historian Michael Beschloss. Michael, good morning. So good to have you with us. So the results are still coming in, but there are plenty of tea leaves that we can read right now. So you're the history expert. Have we seen history made in this election so far?
We sure have, because as you both know from history, it is usually the case that, especially the first midterm election that a president has halfway through his first term in office, almost always he loses a lot of seats and the presidency changes. Biggest example of this, 1994. Republicans said, we want to cut Bill Clinton's presidency in half, and they almost did. They got big gains in the House and Senate, took Congress for the first time in decades, and it was to the point that in early 1995, a reporter at a press conference said to Bill Clinton, I have to ask you this, sir, after the election, are you relevant? And Clinton was outraged that someone would ask that, but absolutely true. Compare that to last night. Democrats had slight control of the House, slight control of the Senate. They may now lose at least slight control of the House, possibly the Senate, but compared to losing 40 or 60 seats or this red tsunami that was predicted for last night, Joe Biden and the Democrats have done amazingly well.
Michael, what has stuck out the most to you so far in your encyclopedic brain? You know so much about so much. Tell us, though, what is sort of for you waking up this morning, you're like, huh?
Well, I think many people expected from the polling data, from some really good polls, that there would have been the kind of tsunami that people were talking about, or at least a large gain in Congress and also by state legislatures and candidates for governor. And there's always been sort of a canard that we've got to now think about, which is that usually if something happens, it does happen in a wave. This was not a wave. It was the opposite of a wave. It was really a Republican dry creek last night because, you know, they made some gains in some states. But if we're comparing this to midterm elections in history, this is very much against the grain. This is the exception to the rule that the out party gets big gains 2 years into a presidency.
Yeah, I mean, if that's history tells us that this is sort of a referendum, the midterm election on the current administration, does it seem like this one was a referendum on President Biden, or was there maybe more at play here?
It was something, I think, larger. President Biden basically said, as you both know, that this is a referendum not just on these terrible problems in the economy, as he said, and problems in the world, other problems that we're all facing, but this is an election in which democracy is in fundamental danger. He said that in the same way that Lincoln did in 1860, FDR said in 1940, and Americans might well have said, you know, this is overstatement, you're overdoing it, you know, I have had high gas prices, these are the things I have to worry about. Instead, they said, well, you know, you may be right, and therefore we should think twice before rolling the dice, and in some states, voting for candidates that we, the voters, think are too extreme.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.